Dubey sir, you can start now.
Okay. So good evening, friends. I'm going to play a video of Krishnaji. The theme is, can there be observation without control or resistance? So just give me a minute. I'll share the screen. Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there observation without any control? Control being the censor, resistance, suppression, or saying, well, I have no control, just doing what. That's too silly either. So, is it possible to observe? Not possible. To observe without any of this.
It's very attention, wanting to gain something. Isn't that prevent?
Of course, of course. After all, if one sees what is happening in the world and in oneself, this fantastic violence, aggression, with all the things applied in it. And playing with non-violence is just idiocy, the ideology of it and all that. To see the implications of violence and being totally free of it. Not as an achievement, but the understanding of the whole nature of violence. Yeah, I mean, when you are, as we are listening and discussing here, is it possible to observe? Are you observing in that sense, which we have talked about just now? Observing, which includes listening, and learning. Observing, listen, means observing, seeing, listening, learning, all a movement. And you're asking, does this happen? Can this happen all during the day? Or does it happen only or partially during the period of sleep? Ah, I see. So if it wants to, it must happen all the time, otherwise no point. From that, another question arises, which is, the sensor is very deeply rooted, right? Deep down in one's being, he's rooted. One can observe superficially, consciously, without the observer. That's comparatively easy if one has gone into it, watches it, that's comparatively easy. But there is this deep-rooted sensor in the very recesses, in the dungeons of one's being, in the caves of one's heart, and so on. How does it happen to bring all that out? I don't know if it interests you. No, not quite. That is a question, but that's not relevant if you don't mind at the moment. Here is a problem which I think must strike everybody. One can be superficially observed, right? I can observe your red shirt, your silver, whatever it is, dress, and so on, so on, so on, and learn the trick of not condemning. It's a trick. But at the deeper layers, deep down, the sensory is in operation, of which one may not be conscious at all. And that sensor generally takes charge at the moment of inattention. I don't know if you follow this. And the moment of inattention is sleep. Am I saying anything scandalous? Because then this sensor projects dreams, all the rest of it takes place. Go to the end.
Your eyes open.
Wait, sir, no, don't go over the results yet. You'll find out. See what is, I'm inquiring. We are inquiring. One can be attentive off and on during the day. Watching. Train oneself like an animal to watch. I've seen that with a great many people who have listened to all this and say, I'm going to train myself to be very attentive and pay tremendous attention during the daytime. Now, when they go to sleep, inattention takes charge because the attention is so artificial during the day. I don't know if you feel. Huh? And so sleep becomes a period of inattention. Do you accept all? Waking state also is inattention, but I'm just passing that over. So the question says to expose the sensor completely, you follow? The sensor that's hidden. The sensor that is the past. I don't know if you will go into it, so we'll find out. Don't ask me questions because you and I are exploring. So, what is the function of sleep? I don't know if you. Is it a period of inattention? If I may use that word without spoiling your sleep. Or is it a period which is really attention? I don't know if you're. No, in order to, not in order, that implies a motive. To live without any form of control, without any resistance, which means without violence, the censor must come to an end. And we are asking the censor is so deeply hidden as he is. How does it happen to expose the whole of it? You say, I don't. No, wait. No, look what you're. And therefore, how does it happen to extend this attention, not only horizontally, but vertically? Vertically as well as horizontally. Huh? Going down. I mean, of all science is horizontal knowledge. Right? I mean, but the vertical inquiry, not only up but down. How? You understand my question? Huh? Yes? Yes, sir? One observes there is superficial consciousness with all its resistance and censorship in action. And one can, and in that observation, one learns greatly superficially. But deep down, can that observation enter into the hidden recesses?
I have an awareness when I dream about the fact that when I'm finished with my dream, I look at it like a puzzle. very often I find some secret key to myself is troubling me that comes out in the dream, and it's over. It's
So you are,
finished then. I have discovered something.
yeah. So you are saying, aren't you, if I may interpret what, if I understand rightly, dreams help one to pull out the sense, to expose the sense. Right?
Yes.
Why do you dream at all? And then,
Perhaps because I am not living my everyday life.
therefore, as you're not living everyday life, not you personally, I'm not talking personally, as one doesn't live with attention during the daytime, at night, asleep, in sleep, dreams become a necessity. Right? I questioned I said, why should I dream at all? Not, I must dream in order to expose my. You follow?
Yes.
And finding a key to understanding through dream. And therefore, keeping the mind, see the important, keeping the brain cells and the mind tremendously active all the time. During the daytime, night, you follow the whole machinery operating all the time. So one is asking whether dreams are at all necessary. And is there a way, I don't mean a method. How does it happen to expose the hidden? We have ruled out analysis. I'm sorry, there are any analysts here, so forgive me. We ruled out the analysis. The analysis, because we went into that subject, we don't have to. We said analysis implies time and analyzer, they analyze one fragment, assuming the authority of the analyzer, and so on. So that's out. That's out. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, that's out. There's no meaning to it first. Then, how is all this to be exposed? I don't know if you are interested in this. Personally, I am tremendously, because if the sensor is in operation at the deeper layers of one's consciousness, and the mind is only polishing up on the surface, there's no meaning. It has a superficial meaning, but it's totally irrelevant. So how does it happen? The deep layers, all their contents are exposed without analysis. Without searching. Searching implies a seeker. See all the difficulties. Who, when he is seeking, must recognize. Right? And therefore, recognition means he is observing through the past and therefore saying this is right, or this is good, this is, I'll keep this, I won't. I don't feel for it. How do you answer this? No?
One is observing. Is the person watching.
Do you understand that our question? In the cellar, great many things are hidden. And I've superficially polished the top floors. In the cellar, there are all these things. How do I get it? To expose, to clean up the whole house.
Doesn't the observing do this?
Observer?
No, doesn't the observing. Doesn't
The act, you're saying, does the act of observation in itself reveals all this? Now, is this from your actual experience or are you just guessing? Please be
Well,
careful. No,
just
no,
now, just doing it now.
no, do, because you see, we can invent a lot of theories, suppositions, guesses, and that's no good. You are saying, are you, that the observer, being the observed, and therefore no censor, when such observation is the factor of revealing the whole content of the self. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if I'm exposing the cell, but all I can tell is when things come up, I can see them happen. I can see resistance happen.
You understand, sir, the meaning of this question? Which is, I'm sure I'm not doubting you, which is, if there is no analysis, or rather, if when we have understand the futility of it, or see the truth of it, and therefore, the time element has gone out of it. In the sense, taking time between the top floor and the bottom floor. You follow? There's no time at all. So when we understand the process of analysis, you also understand the process of time. Therefore, you eliminate time. I don't know if you do. Therefore, we're asking, the observation must be freed from time. Right? It isn't that I'm awake during the day, partially awake during the day, and sleep reveals through dreams the contents of the unconscious, doesn't matter, the unconscious. Therefore, both are necessary. You follow? All that involves time. I have no time. To me, time is a horror. Logically, because that implies time implies an interval between this and that. In that interval, great many other incidents and stresses and strains and events happen, which change the course, So time is really a most distracting affair. So when one realizes that, when the realization of that fact, that time is a distortion, a diversion, and then what is observation without time? I wonder if you're getting all this. That's the point, sir. Therefore, what does this full attention mean?
Those moments that I'm expecting it and afraid.
And no, I don't want moments. I want. I'm not interested in occasional having food, and that is my life. One's life is much too short. And I want to enjoy the mountains, trees, the loveliness of human. I want to enjoy, and as long as there is not, this isn't clear. All this, there's no joy in life. So, and joy is always now, not tomorrow or yesterday. So, time is a factor which is most destructive. And so, is there observation without time? See what is implied. Time, observation without time, observation without the sensor, observation without resistance, without control, without a motive, without an achievement. I don't know if you. What does that observation mean? Is it ever? Is it possible? Or we are merely pursuing a fancy, a dream, a lovely thing to be like that, but it's just vain. It has no meaning. You see, they say train yourself. practice. Watch how you move your toe, your finger, your mind, your thought. You follow. Watch. Take time, take years. At the end of it, what have you got at the end of it? Not to every reaction to see Marilyn Monroe. You follow, sir? That's what they're after. Which is so idiotic. I don't want to go into all that. No, I don't know if you may laugh at, but you see, sir, the monks throughout the world have trained themselves. They never see the beauty of the earth, the beauty of the tree, the beauty of a woman or a man. It's just the book and their idea of Jesus and their salvation and truth. It just, you follow? The battle going on everlastingly. Never a moment of beauty, a tremendous enjoyment. So if I'm serious, I must find this. You follow? It isn't just a dream. Either it is so or it is not so. Which means mind must everlastingly dwell in conflict. That's its habitation. If that is a reality, then it's all right, we accept it. That means violence is absolutely part of life, part of man. Only tame it, control it, shape it, be violent in certain direction, be peaceful. I say that's impossible to live. So, in inquiry, not theoretically, but actually, experiment means to put it to the test, to test it. As you go along. Is such awareness in which there is the total absence of the sensor with all its implications. How does it happen? Not tomorrow, it must happen now. If it happens tomorrow, it's no meaning. Because when it happens tomorrow, I've already built dozens of resistances. I don't know. I've already distorted. I've taken a detour to come to tomorrow. The detour leads me home. So at the end of this, is the mind aware of all this? Aware in the sense, aware of the truth of all this. Not as an idea. The truth of naming, not naming. The description is not the described. The desire to seek and the implications of it. Control. See the truth of it. The truth, not the idea of the truth. Is that what we are doing now?
Yes, Harshad bhai.
Yeah, are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dubeji. This question which Krishnaji is asking, can I observe without controlling or resisting? So we cannot decide to have this kind of observation because the entity which tries to observe, that itself becomes the block. But this can happen if it really happens in the life of a student, when the student is very, very curiously looking at his own inner world, not in order to achieve anything, but just pure curiosity. And in that curiosity, in that looking inward at the source of thinking itself, when thinking stops, then there is this kind of observation happens. And when it happens for the first time in one's life, then one feels the strangeness of it, a real beauty or freshness of it. But some people also get frightened of this state where there is no observer, no censor, only looking at what is. But when a student finds the real beauty of observing without this censor, without this observer or a time or whatever Krishnaji uses so many words to describe that state, the pure observation in which the observer is not, the controller is not, the censor is not. And he says that this happens to human beings during sleep when there is no controller. But what he is saying that for students who are curious, this can happen during the daytime. And in some human students, it happens once in a while. But Krishnaji is asking, that is no good happening once in a while, but can it become one's nature to look without this observer or the censor or me or the self? So, and at one time in this talk, he talks about the vertical attention. And that reminds me of a kind of imagination which comes to me, that we live in the plane, the flat plane of thinking and feeling, a two-dimensional plane. And when there is a coming out of it from this plane of thinking and feeling in the third dimension, which can be called awareness or pure observation, then it looks down at the thoughts and feelings very, very clearly, without any effort, without any observer. And that is the real beauty in our life if it really happens. So, that kind of choiceless awareness or intelligence or the observation without the censor, whatever word we use, it is possible. I can say it from my own living for many, many years that yes, it is looking without the observer, looking at the tree or a human being, or even people whom you know very closely, you can still look at them as if you are looking for the first time. So this is a real beauty, and that cannot, it seems to me that this cannot happen through practice and control, as Krishnaji said, but it can happen when a person is very, very curious to look at his inner world, not in trying to achieve anything, but just being curious. Okay, I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshad bhai. There is a comment in the chat box from Mr. Rama Rao. Harshad bhai, I would like you to respond. He says, what is that inquiry, vertical and horizontal? Please respond.
Okay. Yes. Horizontal means adding more and more knowledge, and through thinking, more thinking comes. So in that, there is no awareness or no intelligence. But when a person is able to come out from knowledge, from thinking, from observer, and coming above the plane of thinking and feeling, and looking down at thinking and feeling very, very clearly from the state of awareness, that is a vertical attention. And that happens once in a while in the life of students. But for some people, it can happen very often. And for some people, it can even become one's nature. Without trying to do anything, one can really look at it. Okay, I finish.
Thank you. Thank you, Harshad Bhai. I think it's important here to understand that this observation is not something which one can try and do that. It basically comes out of, the sense of inquiry that is within us. I think children have that more than all of us because they're full of wonder. They want to explore everything. They have questions to ask. But with us, I think the knowledge, that becomes a burden for us to inquire. So I think if we can just have that curiosity, as I mentioned, or a sense of inquiry, just to find out, know what it is inside. And then with that interest, maybe we can go deeper, and then thought ceases completely. I'll not say that the mind becomes completely out of thought, but the thought doesn't repair in your observation or seeing. Yes, I think we have raised hand from Kumar Kaushik. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, I would like to respond to Harshad ji.
Yeah.
You are asking, you are explaining like horizontal and vertical awareness, in the sense that vertical awareness is coming out of the plane of thinking and feeling and observing from that vertical dimension. But from the talk, it more seems like that horizontal awareness is when you are like aware, thinking and feelings are at different levels, superficially from our interaction with the world, then our inner world, then what we can call unconscious world. There are thinking and feeling at different levels. So when our awareness expands in the physical world and our interactions with it, it can be called a horizontal expansion of our awareness. And if the vertical extension is like when we are aware of more the deeper thoughts and feeling, like the sensor is hidden in the cellar. So sensor is not only when we are choosing in our physical interactions with the world and our relationships with other people, it is also there when we are unconscious and subconscious and unconscious sensor is also there, which is more illumined when we are in sleep and the superficial part is gone. So that sensor projects. So it is not that in sleep there is no sensor. There's sensor in us which is hidden deep inside, and that projects in sleep. So a vertical extension would be awareness when it extends in these dimensions and exposes these activities as well in the light of awareness. That is what is called a vertical dimension of the awareness. And how is it attained? Now, without time, it is beyond me, but that is what I would like to contribute.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Durga ji, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good
Yeah,
evening.
it's very engrossing video, sir. I think this choosing and picking and choosing videos, which is being very religious, very very interestingly and very judiciously by you. I think we'll go by that, sir. Because every video of Krishnaji is of tremendous educational value for us. And any amount of repetition, it doesn't look like it's a repetition. It's throwing your awareness levels taking them into different direction and all. I think we can continue with this, sir. Like you're doing a wonderful job, sir. Yes, sir. I just want to go by the beautiful points, Krishnaji has discussed in this. I just want to, just for the heck of, you can say recapitulation, because I just would like to say, he brought such beautiful analogies, the cellar and the dungeon. And when you just, and that means just for our common knowledge, he has used that, if you just use the superficially, if you clean the floor, the superficial layer of it, but you don't know what's there in the cellar. That means every human being is a mixture of so many unconscious elements, which the human being himself or herself may not be aware of it. Maybe that shows why we act in such a different way, because maybe one is not even aware of that. So I think there's one beautiful example he said, and he also says that, it's not about time. And that is a great challenge he throws at us. And he says one can see the top floor and the bottom floor in one glance. So that shows like a different big challenge for us. And from superficial observation of day-to-day things, he says, if one can go into the dungeon and the cave of inner recesses of one's being, one's unconscious levels. So those are the few beautiful points he discussed. He stuck to them mostly. And here, sir, it's very interesting that, usually we also have read so much about Krishnaji saying this, about center. The center being the all your qualities, the jealousy, the anger, the lust, you can say envy, your desire, fear. But here he is using the word censor. He didn't touch upon that subject, that word as center. But I feel, according to my understanding, sir, censor is basically he is saying about those thought processes which come immediately. Whenever we observe something, immediately the thought jumps and tells, judges, it forms its own opinions. It must be so, it's not be so. We never could look at anything without our thought processes jumping and telling us, this is so, this is not so. And I think that thought processes is again and again calling as censor. And he says, that observation, can it be possible without that censor coming and all the time judging, analyzing, and assessing, and opinion forming? And I think he stuck to mostly to this censor part. And he says, when the pure observation is there, then only, not only one can understand the superficial layers of oneself. Basically, I feel it boils down to that. Though he never says anything about oneself, the very indication that observer is observed. I feel, sir, I have to say one point was here. Till the time one realizes that whatever Krishnaji is saying is more applicable to, it's about the study of oneself. It's not about the entity outside. It's about one's own reactions, one's own behavior, and tremendous passion to know what one is made up of. Because though he never says about oneself or one or something like that, he broadly says observe is observed. And he also says one has to be serious about it. And unless and until one is very passionately interested in all this, it's not possible to go into all that. And he says, if one is resigned to the life of conflict and violence, then you can never enjoy this, you never can get this joy of this life. He says that the beauty of the mountains, the trees, the beauty, you won't be able to enjoy and appreciate the beauty till the time you don't understand all these things and don't sort out these things. So he says that sorting out of your inner being, I had to put it in my own words, sir. Though he never says about inner being and oneself, but because we have to apply it to our own selves. So he says, till the time that kind of the whole observation, that whole thing, goes for a six, completely gone out, you don't see the life for what it is. You don't enjoy the beauty of it. So for him, the beauty of the nature, the marvelous nature, he brings so many descriptions of the nature. And he says the beauty. You don't enjoy the beauty of it because you're all the time, bogged down by your own life. And we have accepted that conflict and violence as part of our life. We have resigned to the fact. So all these points, it makes us think, it makes us wonder. And he says, how do you answer this? I think we don't know how to answer this. We only know how to go into all these points and say, and maybe by repeating all these things, maybe we learn also something, sir. That's all I have to say for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Clemice has put a question. Clemice, would you like to say that yourself? Unmute.
Yeah, no, I think when Harshad Parekh was talking about this vertical and horizontal observation, he says that when you observe in a vertical way, then you see from above and all these things. But then when he was talking, the question came to me, when you are able to observe like that, who is watching from above? Is there this feeling that I am watching from above at all? Or we have this idea that something will come out once we come out of this selfish state. So my question was related to that. Is there something left once this selfishness is gone? What is left? Can we guess on that? Can we speculate on that? And I think unless one is free from all this, it's very difficult to say those things. And so that was my point.
No, thank you. Thank you. Harshad, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, yes. I would like to say that this question about who is watching in pure observation, so that question itself, it indicates that there is some entity, but awareness is not a thing. What it is, we are using the word, but only when actual seeing happens without this observer, pure observation, then only it can be understood. Krishnaji is using many words for the same thing, like he uses the word now center, but sometimes he uses the word self, ego. All these are absent in pure awareness. So there is no who, but it is awareness looking at whatever is unfolding in our own mind. So that is a real freedom. That is a real freedom of observation. Okay, I finish.
Thank you. Thank you, Harshad. Yes, Dr. Verma. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening, friends. A very interesting and complicated topic. He was in a very jolly good mood today. This was a sort of communication of unlimited to limited. This is communication from the whole to the limited. Because most of the things, whether these are all these words are the concepts in my mind, that could be that you say. He talks of understanding and the whole nature of life. He talks about that. So understanding is again a very holistic word, which nobody can explain fully. Then deep-rooted sensor in operation. Who found it? How we found it? Forget about who. Through seeing, experiencing, and realization in a limited self, all of us, if not all, at least myself. You see? Exploring the whole You see, again, very interesting thing. Then what is the role of sensor in nature? Although we divide it into day and night, awake daydreams and night dreams, awakened and partially awakened or whatever. This mind is telling all these terms are coming out of my mind. You see, vertically and horizontally, all these are concepts. We talk of whole, and then we go on dividing the so-called whole in each one of us and start defining that. It means emphasizing on something or the other out of the whole. Then different directions also, all these things, fragmentation of the whole. Clemice used a very good word, speculation. Yes, we all are speculating after listening to a so-called unlimited, because he is supposed to be selfless, absolutely selfless personality. So, seeing, of course, one can realize in seeing there is no time, timelessness. Time comes only when there is a movement from here to there, or mind, and this triggers movement in my mind. Even this triggers a movement in my mind. So, after all this, where are we? Superficial consciousness and deep consciousness. All these words, we are all speculating. I think I am speculating. Because I can't say, because Harshad Bhai tried to explain so many things vertically, horizontally, but I'm sure his mind is working when he's talking like an engineer. You see, verticality and horizontal. But we are there, we are where we were. You see, we have been discussing these words, the same words, time and again, and we are where we were. Because unlimited is communicating with unlimited. This also I am speculating, because I read somewhere that he was born absolutely selfless. He was a person selfless, but he could see, if I use the word he, then we can always negate self out of it. He enjoyed nature fully. He enjoyed all types of life. He enjoyed mechanical, non-mechanical, natural, everything. A very rich life. I could read about or say, speculate or imagine. So what are we doing? This is the question. Ultimately, this is the question. Although Harshad Bhai explains it as if it is that easy, but then he says it is very arduous. It happens to only certain people. And Krishnamurti spent his whole life, almost the whole life, that everybody could get that wisdom or that clarity of life and be out of suffering. So I don't know what more to say, but this is largely we are imagining through our limited mind whatever is said, whatever we have read, or whatever we have listened to. So this is all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I think we need words to explain a concept, but in Krishnaji's, talks or his writings, one has to look in between the lines. That is very important. And I think we have to start from where we are, and I think it will be a good idea to start what blocks us in observing things, rather than talking about the vertical perception and horizontal and all that. because these are words again. But I know that when I observe something, the moment I see something, my knowledge, my experience comes in the way, and then I start measuring it, evaluating it. So I'm not able to observe the way things are. So I think the first thing I will do if I were you, would be that I examine what blocks me in seeing things. And let's see where it goes. I mean, there's no place to reach anyway. So one has to just, it's a work in progress. I'll give Clemice a chance, then I'll come back to you, Dr. Verma. Yes, Clemice, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I wanted to say that the other day I was talking to somebody, and a question came to my mind. So as soon as I asked that question, the person immediately gave an answer. And I realized that that's how we are. We cannot stay with any question. And my intention was not to get an answer. My intention was to raise a question. So then I understood a little bit more at that moment that to be with the question, there is no need for an answer. Because we don't really understand what Krishnamurti means to say when he uses these words. But our mind is so eager to give an answer immediately because we want to be satisfied. We want to have this feeling that I understand, I know. And to be with this, I just don't know. I just don't understand what he means by horizontal and vertical and all this. To me, it is the first time I hear him saying this. I have never heard him using this kind of terminology. So I really don't know what he means by it. So I feel that we have to learn really to stay with questions and let the question unfold itself through the years, maybe. We don't have to be in a hurry for answers because we have been having answers for everything. We know what happens after life. Now there are people who have this almost death experience and they think they know what happens once you die, but they don't realize that is not that experience. The almost is still there. So there is no death experience. Nobody has come back from real death and said what happens. So, and it may not happen the same thing to everybody. Even that we don't know. But we like answers, so we want to know everything. Through the centuries, we had answers for everything. And where are we? So I feel that this is also something that Krishnamurti says many times, to be with the question. Because our brains, once you give an answer, the brain is satisfied with that. And then he knows there is no mystery anymore. But if you keep the question, you don't know, you keep it in your mind for days, for months, for years. Maybe one day you get an insight into that. But if you immediately always answering everything, there is no need for insight because we already know it.
Thank you, Clemice. Thank you. Yes, Verma sir, please.
Yes, sir. About you talked about, sir, Dubeyji talked about what blocks you. All of us feel that whatever we are seeing is correct. Naturally, generally, whatever we see, with whatever limitations we have, nobody doubts that what I see is not what I see. First thing. Then regarding knowledge, what somebody said beautifully, the only thing I know is that I don't know anything. So all the answers, we are full of questions only. There is a plenty. Questions are a plenty. You see, everything, whosoever gives us answer becomes a question. Investigation. What is investigation? Krishnamurti talked about. Exploring, investigation. What? Not knowingness only, my not knowingness. If it is genuine, I will go on probing into it to the best of my senses, limitations, and all that. And this is what is happening. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
May I make a comment?
Yes, please. I'll come to you, Kaushik, after Harshad Bhai.
Yeah, this area where we are using many words, but the word is not the thing. We all know that. So this area is of direct perception by ourselves. We can understand maybe ourselves, but it's very difficult to understand other human beings when they use certain words. Then we speculate about it, like Pradeep ji talked about speculation. When we listen to Krishna ji, we speculate that Krishnamurti is a selfless personality. It may be so when he is giving public talks, but people who have known him in the daily life, they said Krishna ji was like other human beings. He had moods and he had anger and other feelings he had. So we can speculate a lot by just listening to Krishnamurti and not really going into what people have observed. So the speculation is what it comes only when we are only living with the words only, thinking. Then speculation. Otherwise, there is no speculation in looking at a tree. Krishnaji asked a question, can you look at the tree without knowledge, without image, without thinking coming into? Now that question, if that question is very important, and then you try to look at the tree without knowledge, it will not work. But when it really happens, then you say, yeah, there is something, why he asked such a question, that there is some great depth in the question he has asked, only when it becomes a reality to us. Otherwise, as Clemice said, one can remain with the question. Okay, I have finished.
Thank you, Harshad Bhai. Yes, Kumar, please.
Yes, I would like to raise this point that when we are saying that we have to remain with the question, in this, there is a hidden intention that we want the question. If the question is obvious and answer is coming to our mind, then why are we so eager to reject it, or we are eager to suppress the answer and just remain with the question to get to a point that when maybe insight comes and sorts it out? So we don't want a direct answer from our thinking mind. We want an answer from an insight or intuitional mind, and so that our other problems also get resolved with it. So this is a kind of hidden intention of to get to have a greed for an insight just with a simple question and all. If the question has the potential that it cannot be solved by a thinking mind, then you let your thinking mind go at it. And if the question cannot be solved at the level of thinking mind, it will never be solved. We have to be honest in the approach, and if we are honest with the approach, the thinking mind will do what it can, and it can't arrive at an answer, a true answer, an honest answer, an answer which can satisfy its integrity. Then there is an option that the thinking mind will have an insight that okay, it is not the sufficient instrument. Then the real insight can come. But we cannot have even a simple question. We have to pursue it like we don't want an answer. We want an insight for it artificially. That is what Krishnamurti may be calling an artificial awareness we are trying to keep up. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's important for any question, the moment we look for an answer, the inquiry ends, because we feel that we've got an answer now, there's nothing more to do. But if you doubt everything that comes to your mind, in the form of an answer or an explanation of a question, then the inquiry goes on. So the first thing is that one must doubt everything that comes. And when I say that, I don't mean one should become cynical and doubt everything that anybody says. But I think a doubt with the sense of inquiring more. And a stage comes in I think we have all experienced this, when the mind comes to a point where it says, I really don't know. That state of not knowing, something happens at that state. At that stage, something happens. And I don't have to explain this because we have experienced this ourselves. Some insight. When I say insight, I don't mean that, you solve a mathematical equation or something bothering me as to what should I do for a problem faced by me tomorrow, and you get an answer. No, that is something else. But for deeper questions of life, one has to stay with the question and not find an answer right away that, and then the mind is very happy, I've got an answer, and forget what. I would close here and go to Clemice. Yes, Clemice, please.
Yeah, I think it was the previous person who spoke, and he said something interesting about to have an answer when the answer comes. It may be a correct answer for that. But then I was thinking, when we get an answer, we hold on to it. And then that answer becomes an absolute answer. And then anytime we talk about that same subject, that same answer comes. So I just want to add to what he says. I'm not saying what he says was not correct. I just want to add that if we can keep in mind that that answer it's important, it came for that moment, it's important for that moment, but after that moment, can we drop it and start anew when we come to that topic again, so that we don't hold on to one same answer for that same question always and always and always. So then it becomes a memory, and then so it is not a fresh thing anymore. So that is also a danger that we have to be cautious about, that we get one answer and we are very happy with it, very satisfied with it, and then we hold on to it. And then anytime that becomes the answer, always. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Pradeep ji.
Yes. I was myself talking about wholeness, how wholeness became a problem, how it is difficult to conceive wholeness. Because usually when someone talks about wholeness, we start thinking about the external outness, external to me, external to myself. So in a way, I am separating myself and making things complicated for me. But when JK talked about, when you see a tree, the whole, he talked about probably myself, the person who is watching, who is the viewer, with the whole of my senses, with all totality of my being, can I see a tree, and not whether outside how much wholeness is there to be left or something like that. So he's talking about wholeness of me, the observer. If I am seeing with whole, this also is a speculation in my mind, because whether it is whole or not, whether it is communion or communication, whether it is images or not, this also is a matter of speculation for me. But when he says whole, means mind, body, heart and mind together. He talks about heart and mind together. And the whole senses, the whole of me. So, of course, my limitedness will limit that. That is always there. Again, I'm speculating based on my limitedness. But it is like this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, Durga ji.
May I say?
Yes. Okay. You go ahead. Harshad bhai, please. Then we'll go back to Durga ji.
Okay. When we study, I don't study Krishnamurti in a scholarly way, but many people, they go into the words which Krishnamurti is using, and then they try to understand the words, and they connect one paragraph with the other paragraph. But I never studied. I even did not ask questions. But when a question Krishnamurti asks, when that becomes very, very important, then the mind stops. When that question is a very impossible question, then the mind stops, and in that some new understanding comes only when the mind stops trying to understand. So there is nothing like trying to understand in Krishnamurti's teachings. Either you understand, see quickly, or you don't see, even if you spend so many years trying to understand the meaning behind the words and connecting one thing with the other thing, then it becomes scholarly and it doesn't really help. And people don't really are not able to see things in a very fresh way. It's just with knowledge becomes a burden, I feel. And other people also have said, Kabir had said that if you go with all that knowledge, you cannot really see fresh. So one has to even discard the knowledge which we are getting from Krishnamurti teachings. That knowledge can also become a block. And so this is the real beauty. Okay, I have finished.
Thank you, Harshad. Yes, Durga ji.
Yes, sir. So just would like to, bring to the forum something what I remembered about Krishnaji saying about the dreams. Since here he discussed, the discussion about the dreams had come up at many times. So I think here he didn't clarify that point. And at one time, one place I've read that, in the daytime, when you live your when you go through each and every aspects of your life or actions of your life with total attention, then and go through them and finish with them, then when you sleep, that unconscious subconscious unconscious mind don't project that as a form of dream. So the problem here is, in the daytime, we don't see, we don't do any action completely. He says the complete is the word, the completeness of the action of your thoughts, processes, whatever you do in a day-to-day time. If you give attention to that, he says, because we live life in a haphazard way, because we are all the time, chattering mind, wavering mind, pulling in all directions. So we never completely leave any moment completely. So I feel that's one point. When I was listening about the dreams part, I thought I would contribute to the forum. So he says that's the secret. So when you live life like that, when your daytime is like that, your sleep is going to be very rejuvenating, refreshing, and then your subconscious and conscious mind doesn't project that. So that's one point, and one place I've read it very clearly, sir. And one more thing I would like to say, yes, life and human being definitely is a mystery, sir. And we have to begin with whatever instrument we have got, whatever caliber we have got, we have to begin from there. If we have to experiment, if we have to investigate, what are the tools we can investigate them with? We have to investigate that, investigate everything with whatever the tools we have got. But with this awareness also, but that is not the end of it. That's not entirely the totality of it. So with this awareness, okay, I have understood this much, and it's not complete. And tomorrow this understanding may change. Maybe that understanding may going to project and going to show another facet of it. So are we open to that? And are we aware and be attentive to all those things also? I feel that's also is important point we need to keep in mind. That's all I have to say, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Durga ji. Yes, Dinesh ji, please unmute yourself.
Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes.
I'm sorry, today I could not listen to anybody because I'm out somewhere. But just I would like to take the 2-3 minutes. Basically, today JK has covered. He has talked about sensor, and we have been talking since many days that mere seeing will not do anything unless the sensor has been tackled. Mere seeing will superficially give you the relief, as he said that it is used as a trick. But one has to tackle the sensor. Now, how can the sensor be tackled? If sensor is tackled, then there will be no time involved. Means you can be immediately free from your past. And that's what the situation he is asking. Can the change be instantaneous? Now here, if you have to tackle the sensor, definitely first of all you have to complete your self-knowing. Then you have to see your personality traits and in your individuality. That you have to tackle first. You are having so many personality traits, so many what we can say parameters and all that, and from there your desire and your intentions arise. Unless you purify your intentions and your desire and this thing, I don't think sensor can be tackled. Otherwise he will be always interfering with whatever you see. You may be able to see clearly as you have understood the truth of this awareness and all that. But unless this sense, you also tackle your individuality, your personality traits, and desires arriving from that, and your intentions basically. Unless that is purified, then you have to be very honest and other factors which we have already discussed in the past. So sincerity and all that. So that also has to be there. Then only this sensor can be tackled. That's what I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Dinesh, there is a question in the chat box for you. How do we purify desire and complete?
One has to see their intentions and desire. Suppose there is a desire, whether it is appropriate or not. What is his self role? What is his capacity? Whether he can complete it or not. Capacity in the sense, suppose he is having money, then only he can buy the car. If he doesn't have the money, he can't buy the car. So it has to be proportional to his inner capacity and his resources and all that. And accordingly, then only he can enjoy the things. Otherwise, he cannot enjoy. Krishnamurti was saying that I have to enjoy the life in this. So how can you enjoy? You can enjoy only to the extent the resources and capacities and other things are available. Similarly, you have to definitely tackle your all jealousy and your this thing. You don't have to compare with others. You don't have to compete. And you have to see your inner this thing only. Whatever you have gained in the life, and accordingly only you can plan and you can move it. I think I have already given the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we can close here, end of our session now. Next Sunday, that is 17th, we have Javier speaking to us on the way of negation and examination of the core of the teaching. So 17th at 11 a.m. we'll have Javier is speaking to us, and he's a very good speaker. So I would request, if you have time, please do join us at 11 o'clock. The link will be same. You're all welcome to join at 11 a.m. on 17th. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Dubey. Good night.